everybody, and welcome to my review of Nobody. This is a new action film directed by Ilya Naishuller, and it stars Bob Odenkirk as a very ordinary family man who, after an invasion in his home by a couple of burglars, he gets set off on a quest to retrieve something, which then in turn leads to a journey of justice and revenge against the Russian mob. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, my god, that plot sounds a little bit familiar, I'm pretty sure I've seen John Wick, then yeah, there's a good reason for that, because the writer of the John Wick series also has written this movie. Now, I had zero intention of seeing this film because after seeing the trailer, I just thought, wow, that looks like a carbon copy of John Wick. It looks too similar. Not just John Wick, but just kind of... It just looked like a generic action movie that really had nothing going for it. There was nothing that appealed to me, and I had no interest in seeing the film. Then my good friend Jared Buckendall, he did a review of the movie, and man, it was a glowing review, but not just what he said about the film, just his enthusiasm, like the look on his face. He was excited about having seen this film, and I was like, okay, because I generally trust that guy. So I thought, look, I'll go check it out. And yeah, I'm really glad I did. And yeah, sure enough, this movie is extremely similar to John Wick in terms of even small nuances, like the fact that the main character, Hutch Mansell, has gold in his basement. You know, there's like so many scenes. You know, there's a scene where a whole bunch of Russian mobsters come to his house and, you know, he sort of takes them down one by one. There's just, and there's even like an animal, like a pet in the movie. There are so many things why it is similar to John Wick. But at the same time, it probably had just enough differences to it that it made it entertaining. I had a really good time watching this film. Mainly because the character of Hutch, he wasn't like a, you know, slick assassin like John Wick. If anything, I would actually compare this guy more to another movie John, and that was John McClane from Die Hard. You know, John McClane's character was just a really ordinary guy. He didn't have sort of superhuman abilities or anything like that. And yeah, there are scenes in this film where Hutch gets his ass served to him. You know, he really takes a lot of beatings in this film. I mean, yeah, he seems to recover from them pretty quickly, but it's an action movie. What do you expect? Now, prior to this, Ilya Naishuller, he's a Russian director, and he received most of his, fame, I guess, from a movie called Hardcore Henry, which came out a few years back, and that was a really stylistically done sort of a film. It was a first-person perspective action film, so, you know, you had, like, your stunt guys and everything wearing GoPros, and so everything was from the perspective of this main character, which at the time, I thought it sounded like a really great idea. Unfortunately, the film itself, I thought, was pretty mediocre to the point where I don't even really remember any of it. But the reason I'm saying all that is because this film sort of had a lot of Ilya's style to it, particularly in the editing, which a lot of times reminded me of Edgar Wright's movies. Probably not quite as extreme as that in terms of like quick cut montages and things, but particularly the opening scene of this film where we're introduced into the extremely mundane world of Hutch Mansell, and the way that was cut together, I was like, yeah, this guy is definitely one of these directors who, you know, has a particular style, and I like that. I really admire that. But yeah, like the editing, the pace in this film, everything, it was a really enjoyable watch. Like, there was not a single dull moment in the entire runtime. And yeah, it was definitely one of those movies that you really enjoy it while you're watching it. There was a great supporting cast as well. We had Connie Nielsen playing Hutch's wife, whose character name escapes me. But we also had people like Christopher Lloyd was in it as Hutch's dad. And it was just such a joy seeing him on screen again. Like, he is just one of those actors that you just love him no matter what he's doing. But my God, he just looks so old now. It was kind of sad, like every time you watch him, you're sort of like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to have old Christopher Lloyd around much longer. But we also had Michael Ironside was in the film, an actor who I have just loved since like a lot of 80s action movies that he was in. He's always great, but he's also like a lot older and bigger now and stuff. But yeah, and he was almost unrecognizable, I gotta say. It was sort of one of those things I was like, that guy kind of looks like, hey, that's Iron Michael side? No, it's not. It's Michael Ironside. Fucking, I'm keeping that in. We also had the RZA playing Hutch's brother, who I know you're kind of like, how's he playing his brother when, there's kind of a bit of a racial difference going on there, but you sort of get the impression that this guy was maybe like an adopted brother or something. I do think the movie is setting it up for a sequel. There is a mid-credit sequence, so make sure you stick around for that. There is a mid-credit sequence that definitely sort of says to you, and, well, even the very end of the film, it sort of says, hey, there's going to be a number 2 of this, and yeah, look, I'll go see it. The thing with this movie, though, like, even though, like I said, it is a great movie while you're sitting there watching it, absolutely go and see it. But it is also, again, leaning back to what I said at the start, it does kind of feel like you have seen it before. This movie doesn't break any new ground whatsoever. There is nothing new aside from Ilya's signature style added to it. Yeah, so, I was sort of sitting there thinking to myself, like, would I own it on Blu-ray? And yeah, I wouldn't exactly rush to see it again. A movie like Godzilla vs. Kong that I wanted to see again the next day because it was just so mind-blowingly awesome. This one, though, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I've seen it. I'd probably get it on Blu-ray way down the track, like, if it was $10 or something. It is worth checking out again down the track one day. But yeah, it just didn't have that sort of appeal that, that rewatchability, I guess. So, but that's really the only thing I can criticize it on, because it was a really well-crafted movie. Bob Odenkirk clearly does a lot of his own stunts in this film, which was really commendable. So yeah, look, if you're after a really fun action movie, just a good time at the cinemas for a couple of hours, by all means, you're not going to be let down by this movie, as long as you go in not expecting too much, I guess. So that being said, I am going to give Nobody a 7.5 out of 10. And a big thank you to 105.7 Radio Metro for having me along to the screening. I really do appreciate it. And if you're a local Gold Coaster, make sure you tune your stations into 105.7 because they play music. And if you like music that is good, then you should check out Radio Metro. All right, so over to you guys. I know a lot of you have already seen Nobody. A lot of people have had like online screeners and things like that. And yeah, look, to be honest, like this is also, I should have probably said, it's not the sort of movie you really need to see on the big screen. I don't think it's going to lose too much translating it to smaller screens. So if you have seen Nobody, I'd love to know what you guys thought of it. So drop me some comments either here, Facebook or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. Catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.